Hello, my name is Manuel David Müller. As part of my master's thesis, I worked on late medieval, early modern charters in the Cologne area. In the process, I created this map, which I would like to talk about today. The basis for my map is the digital map that the Viabundus-project is creating for all of late medieval Europe. I only used the cutout of this map, the hilly mountainous area east of the Rhine. In the period of investigation, it was largely ruled by the counts, later dukes of Berg, and even today the region is called Bergisches land. There are a few things marked on it, on my map. First, in a light blue, possibly navigable rivers. As a restriction to this, they are marked in their present form, and in addition to the usually to expect changes of 500 years, since the 19th century there have been built numerous dams in this area. So the markings have to be seen rather as something like a sword aid. There were waterways, and not everything was transported on roads. But there were roads, and a few of them have names. In my work, I try to assign the names to the roads determined by the Viabundus map. In addition, a few things have come up that were not yet recorded. I was able to name 9 different roads in this area. To start clockwise with the roads that lead to Cologne, in a dark blue, all along the Rhine, it's the Rheinstraße. Of course, this road doesn't begin in Düsseldorf as it is shown. It is part of a much larger road beginning further northwest. In the region of Wiesdorf-Leverkusen, the Rheinstraße joins the Mausfahrt again, even though that is not yet recorded in the Viabundus map. The Mausfahrt, marked in the dark green color, is a curious case. It splits from the marked Rheinstraße in Düsseldorf and leads to Cologne, but the places along the Mausfahrt are sometimes also noted as being placed at the Rheinstraße. That's not too much to wonder though, as names in this time seem to be a bit more fluent, and the Mausfahrt is a road, or Straße, that follows the Rhine, if only a bit further inland. Starting from Cologne, the next road, marked in orange, is the connecting road to Dortmund, or more like it, the roads leading between those two towns. Due to the focus of my master's thesis, the Köln-Dortmunder Straße is only drawn via Rade vom Wald and Breckerfeld, as these are the places that are mentioned in another chapter of my thesis. But also the splits a bit further west, via Lennep, was called Köln-Dortmunder Straße. And a similar case where I had to make a decision concerning the naming are the following streets. Along the streets, marked in red, purple and yellow, there is evidence for the name Heerweg. I decided to name only the red marked route as Heerweg on my map though, because this road still exists until today as a uniformly named continuous road. It is the Bundesstraße 506, or in short B506. In addition to the designation as Heerweg, the designations Brüderstraße and Heidenstraße exist for the routes running a little further south in purple and yellow. The names seem to be synonymous, which is why I've used them both for the purple road. The name Alte Kölner Straße, in English Old Cologne Road, for the yellow route is post-medieval, but I used it anyway because it gives a good distinction to the route via Engelskirchen. And again, this is more for my master's thesis than for the map itself. Another road that can be found in many sources is the Köln-Frankfurter Straße, here marked in pink. Like the Köln-Dortmunder Straße, this is a connecting road between two towns, Köln and Frankfurt. Beyond those roads, I could make out 2 other long-distance roads. On the one hand, there is the Polizeiweg, running from Wipperfürth to Siegburg, marked in a brown color, and on the other hand, there is the Bergische Eisenstraße, that's marked in a light green color. The latter also sometimes loses the adjective Bergisch and then is only referred to as Eisenstraße. The northern part of the Polizeiweg, from Wipperfürth through Lindlar all the way down to Altenbrück, can be seen very well on the Viabundus map. The southern part, however, does not seem to have been recorded so far. This is a dotted connection between Altenbrück through Rösrath and Lohmar down to Siegburg. The Eisenstraße, on the other hand, presents a more difficult situation. Many of the places described as being on the Eisenstraße do not share a connection on the Viabundus map, and so I had to draw a few dotted connections here as well. From that, the connections to Solingen and Denkling come in the north and south of the light green route respectively. But there's more to the Eisenstraße. Places like Rade vom Wald, Meinerzagen and others are mentioned as lying on the Bergische Eisenstraße, and in one case even Siegburg, all the way down in the south is. Furthermore, the situation that modern regional marketing has discovered the term and seems to use it for everything made an assignment even more difficult. So much for my map in general. Now, of course, the question arises, what can be done with such a map? I made myself, in the context of my master's thesis, also some thoughts on that, and I would like to present one possible application. As can be seen, there are numerous toll posts in the study area. Thanks to the information on Viabundus, it is easy to read out when the toll posts were mentioned for the first time. Of course, this does not mean that every first mention also equates to the founding of a toll post. But in some cases it does, and as Janssen recognized back in 2014, there was a whole system of toll levies in the 14th and 15th century. While Janssen describes the whole thing as difficult to figure out, it can be very well visualized using my map and the information from Viabundus. The oldest toll that can be found is the bridge toll at the Agger near Troisdorf. The first mention of this post is 1357 and does not belong to the system recognized by Janssen. But from the 1370s on, there's a whole series of toll post foundings. Rising thereby is Wilhelm, at this time Count Wilhelm II of Berg, who would later be known as Duke Wilhelm I of Berg. The first of these toll post foundings took place in Lennep on the Cologne-Dortmunder Straße in 1371. For the first time between 1374 and 1377 then, Wilhelm levied a river toll on the Rhine in Düsseldorf. Then, in 1377, two more land tolls were levied, one at Rheindorf on the Rheinstraße and one at Fette Henne, again on the Köln-Dortmunder Straße. It can be assumed that the trade routes between Dortmund or Frankfurt and Cologne were particularly lucrative, and it was therefore worthwhile to collect a toll here. At the same time, however, a certain distance to the city of Cologne should be maintained. During Wilhelm's lifetime, until 1408, 4 more tolls were raised. The main roads to Dortmund and Frankfurt were occupied thereby in each case a further time. The assumption is therefore that the other roads were subordinate to those two. The newly levied tolls are Mülheim at the junction of all roads leading from the northeast to Cologne, Troisdorf on the Köln-Frankfurter Straße, and Wermelskirchen on the Köln-Dortmunder Straße. Another toll post is now in Wipperfürth from 1398 on the Bergische Eisenstraße. This toll post falls out from the pattern of the previous post, because here it is not a road to Cologne which is occupied. But on the other hand, it is to be mentioned that in Wipperfürth there is still the Heerweg that crossed the city, and the Heerweg again leads to Cologne. After the death of Wilhelm, his son Adolf succeeded him as duke. Under his reign, there was a second great wave of toll levies. The wave can be pinpointed to 1 year, 1411. In this year, tolls were levied in Wiesdorf at the Mausfahrt, Brück at the Brüderstraße, and Urbach at the Köln-Frankfurter Straße. It is evident here that the focus was on roads that led from the Bergisch Land directly to Cologne, and were much closer to Cologne than most of the previous posts. 2 more toll posts followed in the course of the 15th century, still under Adolf's rule in Denklingen at the Eisenstraße and under the rule of his successor Gerhard in Lindlar at the Polizeiweg. These 2 toll posts were not connections to Cologne. Probably this reflects the fact that due to the economic increase in the late Middle Ages, caused by iron processing in this region, the roads connecting parts of the Bergische Land itself were also financially worthwhile. This short lecture is meant to show only one of the possible uses of the map. Finally, I would like to outline one more possible use. Irsigler made back in 1979 maps of the origin of various groups of goods that came to the markets in Cologne around the year 1500. By means of the Viabundus map, the routes that these goods could have taken to Cologne can now be traced, and in conjunction with my map, these routes can also be named. I thank you for listening.